Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple. That's your no shit gaming news video. 3 news stories in one video with 0 faff. Yesterday saw Microsoft's latest Xbox game showcase, which showed off almost an hour's worth of game footage, including a number of brand new titles. The show opened with the return of the Master Chief with Halo Infinite and some of the only gameplay in the whole bloody stream. Chief's return looks like an old school Halo game, but that is both a good thing and a bit of a bad thing. It's clearly being very nostalgic, playing off the original trilogy, particularly Combat Evolved, and has Chief back in his familiar bright green Mjolnir armor, unlike the weird redesign of 4 and 5. Now, I love me some old school Halo, and I'm really glad to see it make a return, but I was hoping to see a little more. Outside of a grappling hook, which admittedly is pretty cool, I mean, it's a grappling hook, they're always great, the game looks the same as its predecessors with no significant steps forward. My concern is that if you want to play Halo Infinite, you could just go back and play Halo 1 from 2001 and basically get the same thing. In terms of graphics, the game left something to be desired based on what many of us were expecting for a truly next-gen Halo game. Like, it looks fine, but not like the game to sell you on how gorgeous the Xbox Series X will make its games look. However, the game is also launching on Xbox One, so that's definitely going to limit what the developers over at 343 can really do. Plus, the game is still in development, so things may change and improve before launch, but the game is coming out this year, so it is a ticking clock. One thing I did quite like the look of, despite its brief appearance, was the player accessing a map which represents the more open setting of the levels in Halo Infinite, with multiple objectives strewn across the playspace. I'm really glad to see more games moving in this direction and expanding their linear stories without going full-blown open world full of filler. The other major exclusive featured in the showcase was the long-awaited and frequently rumoured Fable. No, not Fable 4, just Fable, as Playground Games continue the tradition of naming sequels after games that already exist. Personally, I hate this kind of trailer as it's totally pointless and just gives us a title card, but at least this one had some of the Fable sense of humour, unlike the complete waste of time that was The Elder Scrolls 6, and yeah, we've still not seen any more of that. I really enjoyed Fable 2 and 3 despite the latter's faults, but according to a new rumour, this game is not a sequel to those mainline games. Instead, according to French journalist ChronoTK, the game will be an MMO set in the Fable universe.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
People have been clamouring for a Fable revival for years, but does anyone really want a Fable MMO? Honestly, let me know in the comments if that's you, because I've never met anyone or seen anything online about people wanting that. I mean, maybe it'll be really good, but it doesn't really seem to gel with what the fanbase wants. In between those two exclusive titles bookending the showcase, there were a number of other projects of variable sizes. The winner of the Best Trailer award undeniably goes to Obsidian's shrunken survival game Grounded for just being totally self-aware.
If you're waiting for the biggest game of the year, then wait for Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
A personal standout for me was Medium, but this time we actually got a slither of gameplay. Outside of following the recent trend of being a cool chick in a leather jacket, a little more gameplay was uploaded by the developers Bloober Team, which showed off the game's dual reality mechanic. This allows the player to play in the real world and the more abstract and bizarre spirit world simultaneously. I can already hear my PS4 fans screaming at just the thought of it. Ninja Theory's Hellblade had a disappointingly minimal presence in the showcase, and only appeared briefly to say that you can watch a dev diary about a trip to Iceland elsewhere instead of having it in the stream itself. Now, it's still one of my most anticipated games, but it would have been good to see a little more. Avowed is one of the most interesting games shown off and is another Obsidian title. The game is a first-person RPG set within the Pillars of Eternity universe, which is one of the most lauded RPGs in recent years. The most obvious comparison is to the Elder Scrolls titles like Skyrim, but we've yet to see actual gameplay. A lack of gameplay has been the big problem with this showcase and has been the case for pretty much every major game event recently. There were a lot of new titles that got their day in the sun, like Warhammer 40k Darktide, Everwild, and As Dusk Falls, but the lack of gameplay for these titles leaves little to actually get excited about. Darktide is meant to be an FPS set in the Warhammer 40k universe, but why not show it in action? Everwild sure looks pretty, but what the hell is it actually like to play? As Dusk Falls is meant to be a narrative-driven interactive drama, so it's not going to have flashy gameplay, but at least give us an idea of the kind of choices we can make. On the whole, getting to see Halo is always a joy, and getting a brief glimpse of some smaller new titles is all well and good, but ultimately, at least in my opinion, the showcase altogether was a bit meh. I really want Xbox to impress me, but ultimately nothing in the showcase had me wowed. I liked a lot of what I saw, but nothing blew me away. What about you? What was your favourite part of the showcase, and am I just being too harsh? Something I think we can all get behind is that every single one of the games shown off will be available on day one on Xbox Game Pass, which continues to prove to be the best value game subscription on the market. Seriously, if you have an Xbox One and you don't have Game Pass, you are insane. Just playing one game means it's paid for itself. It's just such good value. And next up, moving from Microsoft to Sony, Ghost of Tsushima has been a strong success for the company in the weeks since its release. After receiving largely positive reviews from critics and players, then going to the top of the UK physical sales charts and outselling Sony Ben's Days Gone, the game has been a particular hit in Japan. The game focuses on Tsushima Island, an island off the coast of mainland Japan during the Mongol invasion of 1274. The Japanese review outlets have been praising the game for its authentic and respectful treatment of the nation's history, especially since it's developed by Washington-based studio Sucker Punch. In fact, the game recently became the third Western game ever to win a perfect score from popular magazine Famitsu. Ghost of Tsushima has done so well in Japan, in fact, that it has far exceeded Sony's expectations. According to PlayStation Japan's official Twitter, as translated by Google, Ghost of Tsushima has been well received than we expected, and we are out of stock at some stores. Currently, additional production is currently underway, but the download version is also available on the PS Store. According to Famitsu, the game sold more than 220,000 copies in the first 3 days in Japan alone. It beat out the previous champion Death Stranding at 185,000 copies, as well as Spider-Man with 132,000 and Days Gone with 114,000. Surprisingly, Sony Santa Monica's God of War of all games is the lowest performing major Sony exclusive in Japan, selling significantly lower than the others. Jin Sakai's Adventure has now become the fastest selling original Sony IP ever on the PS4, selling 2.4 million units in the first 3 days. It's really great to see a game that tries to replicate a specific culture being accepted and fully embraced by said culture. Massive props to the team over at Sucker Punch for successfully realizing their vision and being the perfect title to wrap up the PS4's insane roster of exclusives. If you like how Ubisoft games used to be, you know, good, and want a gorgeous open world, then Ghost of Tsushima is for you, especially in the wake of the total shit show that is happening with Ubisoft right now. It's certainly not perfect and has its share of flaws, but I've been recommending it to pretty much anyone who will listen, so maybe give it a shot. Plus, it's a brand new IP and we always need more of those. Personally, it's a solid contender for my game of the year so far, but I'm not certain if it quite takes the top spot just yet. That title is currently held by the one and only Doomslayer. And finally, there's another PS4 exclusive out there, but it doesn't quite get as much love as I think it deserves, and that's Dreams by Media Molecule. Dreams is less of a game and more accurately described as a suite of creation tools that empower users to create art, music, films, and games. After launching back in February, Media Molecule is now following through on one of its major promises that was absent at launch, which is VR support. This means that you can build and play games in VR with a new series of how-to videos. If you have any aspirations to go into game development or any other creative industry really, check out Dreams. It does have a pretty steep learning curve for a lot of its techniques, but even if creating isn't your thing, there's a bunch of really cool projects that users have created that you can just jump into and play, watch, listen to, or just experience. Creating a game in a 3D space with Move controllers sounds like a one-way ticket to a serious headache, but I have no doubt it'll be one of the best headaches you'll ever have. And that's it for today. If you like this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell to stay notified about all future installments. Toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. I've been Henry Cooper. That's all for today. Bye for now.